Just got in, literally. I've been filming for Channel 4 today, Steph Pack Lunch. And whilst recording today, there was a lot of news coming out this morning about what I want to talk about here on the channel this evening. And yes, this is Tuesday. This is 2.5 hours late, but I just didn't have enough time to record a video over the weekend to schedule. And I'm actually glad that I didn't because this is really, really big news. So I'm going to bring in a clip of Jeremy Hunt outlining the news that we are going to see spending cuts and tax rises. He used the following language.
There will be more difficult decisions, I'm afraid, on both tax and spending as we deliver our commitment to get debt falling as a share of the economy over the medium term. All departments will need to redouble their efforts to find savings, and some areas of spending will need to be cut. But as I promised at the weekend, our priority in making the difficult decisions that lie ahead will always be the most vulnerable. And I remain extremely confident about the UK's long-term economic prospects as we deliver our mission to go for growth. But growth requires confidence.
So what he said there was that he was going to try and be as compassionate as possible when considering spending cuts, because ultimately we do have quite a few people in the country who are reliant on state benefits for, disability living allowance, universal credits, personal independence payments, the whole nines. Actually, this is the kind of stuff that we spoke about on Pack Lunch this afternoon, between 12:30 and 2 o'clock. There are a lot of people who are on benefits who have no way of being able to cope with this turmoil that the cost of living has brought across. Indeed, people are not just thinking about heating and eating, it's about heating, eating, then I need to be able to keep medical equipment on in order for my spouse, my partner, the person that I'm looking after to continue to receive their care. So this has been a really, really big point of contention. And what is due to be announced next week, so we don't know that this is 100% true, but what is rumored to be announced next week is that the government is indeed going to stay true and steadfast to the promise of the triple lock. So I'll talk about that in a moment, but also at the same time increase benefits as well in line with inflation. Now, obviously, that brings a big question mark into the equation. Where is the money for this going to come? This is rumored to cost around about £11 billion that we do not have. Let's just be absolutely clear on that. But I have to say that I'm actually quite pleased with this announcement. I really, really am. Because doing Channel 4 and doing Pack Lunch, I'm hearing more and more and more from people who are in unfortunate positions where it's horrible. It's just not a nice place to be. And it's nice to see the government actually be considerate and be true to their word in credit to them, be true to their word in the fact that they are trying to be as compassionate as possible when it comes to ensuring that people will be looked after. So look, it's going to cost 11 billion quid. This is the detail of what we know so far. So the pension triple lock. Okay, so the pension triple lock is essentially where if you are in receipt of the state pension right now, the promise is threefold. Your pension payments, your state pension will increase by wage growth, 2.5%, or inflation, whichever of the three is highest. So currently at the moment, the highest is 10.1%. Now, the issue is, well, if you increase it by 10.1%, where's the funding actually going to come from? And as I already explained in a previous video from last Tuesday, the state pension is actually funded by the tax take right now. So whilst the state pension is unsustainable, certainly at these levels, I think there is this short-term view that they need to increase state pension alongside the rate of inflation and actually stay true to their promise to keep the triple lock going. All right, so let me just increase this very quickly, because what does it actually mean for people who are indeed in receipt of their state pension. Bear me 1 second. This thing's playing around with me now. Let me just line this back up. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Because there's quite a bit to get through in this section right here, because the difference is quite tangible, and it is going to be good news for people who are in receipt of their pension. Right. So I need to increase this so you guys can actually see it properly. And let's try that again. All right. Okay, cool. So what does it mean? So if you are in receipt of the state pension at the moment, so with the with it going up in line with inflation at 10.1%, the maximum new state pension will rise from £185.15 to £203.85 per week. So really, really good increase, which means it's going to take it from from 9,000, just over £9,000 to just over £10,600, which is good. All right, so that's good news altogether. Now, benefits are going to be done in exactly the same way. Now, a lot of the benefits have to rise by inflation legally, okay? But this is the list of benefits that potentially are also going to see an increase by 10.1%. So that's personal independence payment, that's disability living allowance, attendance allowance, incapacity benefit, severe disablement allowance, industrial injuries benefit, carers allowance, additional state pension, guardians allowance. There's also some other ones down here. I will link this article so you can actually get into the details. So universal credit, child benefit, contributory employment and support allowance, contributory job seekers allowance, statutory maternity, paternity pay and maternity allowance, income-based job seekers allowance, income-related employment and support allowance, income support, working tax credit, child tax credit. These are all going to see their benefits increase by 10.1%. I didn't really think that the government was going to do this. I think it's really, really, really good. And actually, I think that this will be a lot of help to a lot of people who are in less fortunate positions than maybe a lot of us who actually watch this channel specifically and maybe are looking towards opportunities within the markets right now. It's funny because even if I go onto the community tab of the channel, I mentioned this, I think, over the weekend or so. I put a poll into the community tab, and I asked people whether or not they were worried about the cost of living increasing and so on and so forth. And at this point in time, we're still at 73% of people saying yes, they are worried. 27% saying no. So clearly the majority of people are still worried about the cost of living crisis. And I would assume that most of those people will be in relatively better positions than a lot of people who are maybe on disability allowance or they are critically ill. It's a really, really difficult situation. And so I'm really, really happy. It's going to cost us 11 billion quid, but I would imagine that's going to be paid for in some way by tax hikes in some way, shape or form. And I've already spoken about how they're potentially going to be targeting capital gains tax potentially, and also looking at dividends allowances as well, reducing that from £2,000 to £1,000. So, look, good news. If they actually do this, I think it will go down very, very well next week. But where's the balance, right? It's got to be balanced. It has to come through and be feasible from a budget point of view. So, what does that actually look like? We're going to find out next Thursday, I suppose. So, look, there we go. Let me have a look at some of the comments very quickly. See where you are. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And by the way, if you've not already smashed the like button, there are 48 of you on here at the moment. There's only 9 likes. Can we get those likes up considerably, please? Considerably. It will just mean that other people who may benefit from this video, who may be able to share it with people who are on those kind of benefits, who are looking for some good news, they also get to see this video as well, because ultimately YouTube will push it out to them as well. Let me just have a look at the comments here and see what we've actually got. Meji saying good vibes. I like to hear that. Dividends and CGT allowance reduced will save billions, right? Easiest way to help the budget. Easiest way to help the budget. Reduced, well, yes, it will actually, because I think on the dividend side of things, the number that they earned in 2021 was just over £14 billion. So if they were to target dividends by either increasing the rates or reducing the allowance from 12,300 to a lower number, that is going to bring in a multiple of number of billions by doing so. It's just a question of how they're actually going. Sorry, capital gains tax, I should say, in that instance. The capital gains tax allowance is £12,300. So if they reduce the allowance or target the rates that you're paying, then that will bring in billions. With dividends, if they reduce it from what they're saying is they're going to reduce it from £2,000 to £1,000. I don't know how much that is going to be. I think maybe around about, I don't know actually the number. I know if they're also looking at a freeze in the interest rates, the income rates, and that will pull approximately, I think they were saying about 800,000 people into a different tax bracket, and that was rumored to be worth around about 6 billion quid. So that's kind of very, very stealth in terms of the tax, but who knows? Let's have a look. Look. Is he changing the lifetime allowance in any way? We don't know just yet, mate. I don't know for sure. I think, well, he did say that everything would be on the table as for consideration, but I don't think that he is reducing the lifetime allowance as of yet. He might do though, but the lifetime allowance has been stagnant for some time now at £1 million for pension. So um, it really wouldn't incentivize people to pay into a pension if he reduces it. So I hope not. I hope not, but who knows? Kev, Cabbage is saying here the national minimum wage of £9.62 is not enough to live on with the current and rapid increase of the cost of living. It's hard to save, invest, and survive. That's very, very true. I think a lot of people will actually resonate with that 100%. Um, yeah, I mean, look, let's face it this way, right? We didn't account for this level of inflation. Um, so it's really, really hard in terms of trying to bring wages up to par. And we're now seeing that there are strikes galore all over the place because as people are being squeezed on their incomes because of inflation, one of the things that you would naturally look for is increase in pay, and that in itself is expensive for the government, and it's definitely expensive for business as well. And not a lot of businesses are able to do that. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, but I don't know where the solution is for that in terms of increasing that even further because that's going to cost additional money, and that money has to come from somewhere. Someone to say here tax receipts will go down whilst we're in a recession. I mean, we're talking about employment numbers here, unemployment numbers. They are rumoring that the unemployment numbers may go all the way up to about 6%, which was where it was in 2007, 2008 during that recession. So hmm, I hope not, but I think the economists are forecasting that and bracing for the worst with that. What else have we got here? There's Edam slices in Sainsbury's went from 180 to 275. It's absolutely nuts, right? It's crazy. You talk about getting those little fruit like boxes in Sainsbury's and places like that, and they're like £3.50, £4. It's like what for a few grapes and a couple of slices of pineapple? It's absolutely mad. Yeah, and this is a really good point, and this is a point that someone made in the comment section that we talk about the headline inflation rate being 10.1%. Well, in reality, people will feel it differently depending on obviously income and where they live and so on and so forth. So, when you think about your real rate of inflation, it may well be very, very different to the 10.1 headline because what they're essentially doing is they're taking a basket of goods to calculate that CPI, right? Whereas for you, day to day, it will be very, very different because of your circumstances, your income, where you live, a number of sort of circumstances. For some people, it won't be anywhere near 10.1 because their circumstances just don't mean that they're feeling that level of pain. So, yeah, it can be very, very different for people individually. Zero just saying there, please again, let's smash the like button if you've not already subscribed as well and you're new to the channel. Please also consider subscribing as well. Kevin's asking, do you think they'll print money again? I'd like that, especially now I'm a little more educated on how that will affect the stock market. No, I don't think they'll continue to print money. If anything, the Bank of England are actually selling bonds now, and that's kind of to take money out of the system. So I don't think they will. That will just worsen inflation. And with all the monetary policy that is happening in the background to try and bring it down, it will be counterintuitive to do so. So, yeah. I'm just scanning these comments here. So this is a good one here. Two options: they either crash the economy or crash the currency. With interest rates continuing going up, something is going to break, they and then they can begin printing again to restart the economy. So they've already said, and this is a language that came out of the Fed, and it has kind of been mirrored by Andrew Bailey, that they feel as though they've not done enough to combat inflation, and the stance that they're taking now is they want to be more aggressive, and they will only stop when they get to the point where they feel as though they may actually break something. So that is a stance that they are taking with monetary policy right now, which tells you that interest rates are going to continue to rise over the next 12 months or so, particularly as we start entering into a recession, and we need to get that inflation number down like quick time. And it's a shame I couldn't again bring you that live with Hugh Pill yesterday at the Bank of England. He's the chief economist there. The tech just didn't work, but some of the stuff that he said was actually very, very eye opening. And I'll talk about that separately in another live. So I started to buy coffee off Amazon. Hey, listen, where you can save a pound, save a pound. If you can save a penny too. Let's have a look at this one. It's really hard to create a savings plan considering the government can change things at any point. That is very, very true. But what I would say is, look, control the controllables. You can't control what the government is going to do in trying to respond to inflation, monetary policy, and everything that's going on in the economy. But you can control what you do from a personal finance point of view to make sure that your money's squared away in certain sectors, right? So, what I would say is create a savings plan, or at least put your mind to actually saving a certain amount, even if it is just to bump up your emergency fund. So you've got a little bit of a cushion, right? Continue to do that. You can't control interest rates. You can't control any of that stuff. But you doing what you can do means that you've got something in place should things get really, really worse. And if they don't, if they do get better, at least now you still have a savings plan. And look, to be honest, guys, you've got to remember, isn't the first time that we've been in this kind of situation. It may not be the exact same situation that we find ourselves in from years before, but it is similar. It's a market cycle. It's a recessionary cycle. It's a cycle of high inflation, right? We were here in this kind of similar situation in the 70s, right? So history repeats itself. And the reason why I say that is because, we're talking about, a savings plan here. And this is financial habits, right? Being able to have good controls over your finances and doing what you need to do and controlling the controllables. Even if it doesn't pay dividends right now, guess what? History is going to repeat itself in the future. And it might be 10 years, it might be 15 years down the line. But the things that you learn right here, right now, are the things that are going to bear dividends later on. Because guess what? You learned from this situation right here, and it's hopefully going to put you in a better position later on. Financial habits are so, so important. I cannot stress enough. They are really, really important. And it's difficult to learn the hard way a lot of the time, but learning the lessons is really, really important. And that's what I'd encourage anybody to do. Yes, it's very, very difficult right now, but if we're going to go through the pain, what do we learn to make us better for the next time? Because this will happen again at some point in the future. Kev, mate, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. I do appreciate that. I don't get many of these, but when you do actually put them in, I really do appreciate it. And he's asking here, Pete, you going to Dubai next month? Usually do in December, don't you? I do, but I'm not going this year because the flights are absolutely mad. The accommodations are absolutely mad. I was speaking to my mate out there, and he was saying things are nuts in Dubai right now. Property prices have gone absolutely crazy, and also because the pound has fallen in value, it's actually more expensive. So not only the flights more expensive, the apartments are more expensive, the pound's just crap, which means that we're being hit from three sides. So we're not going to Dubai in December. Um, Actually, I may not be having a Christmas at all, which is linked to some news that I'm probably going to announce next week once we've got everything finalized. It's a really, really big piece of news. And yeah, man, look, I'm going to do a review at some point of the year as it goes, because I think this year has been it's been mind blowing. And I'm one that I practice gratitude, and I cannot but be very, very thankful for everything that this year has brought along. Visualizing is everything, man. It really, really is. But Kev, thank you, mate. But yeah, not going to Dubai. We're looking at where we might go. We might go to Egypt. I'm not too sure just yet. I might not even be having a Christmas at all, like I said, but I'll know next week. Well, I'll know by the end of this week. You guys will know next week, once I'm able to make an announcement. All right. Okay. Cool. What have we got here? I know it's hard on business to increase wages, but the lower wages will end up being on benefits and increase the strain on the government and business crash. Yes, so this is where you actually need intervention and help from the government, really. And at the moment, there hasn't really been a lot of help for businesses when it comes to dealing with energy prices and so on and so forth. So, you know, hopefully next week Thursday we're going to see some interventions being brought forward by the government for business as well, because business is crucial in order to recover out of a recession. Because you're saying if people aren't in work and they're on the dole, on the benefit take, well, actually that's going to cost more money, where it might be worthwhile incentivizing businesses to keep more people in employment, keep the tax take going, and trying to keep things rustling over. But then you still have the question of investment, into these businesses as well. Corporation tax is a long thing towards that. How do you incentivize businesses to invest into their business, employ more people? That's, I think, where we need a little bit of help. All right, I didn't want this to go on for too long, guys, but again, I appreciate every single one of you on here. Please, let's get the likes up a little bit more. I know I keep asking this, but it is really important just for other people to get to see it. So we've got 35 at the moment. We can get up to 50. That will be absolutely amazing. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed doing more lives, rather than kind of recorded videos. You guys tend to, it feels like you like it more. But I would love to know if you're watching this either on a repeat or a record because you've not been able to join live. What do you think of the news of them potentially increasing pensions by inflation and benefits by inflation? That's 10.1%. What do you think? Is that good news? Is that bad news? I think, you've got to take your hat off to them, and not a lot of people will agree with the Tories or and the track record. But I think, this is a welcome policy if it does indeed get announced next week. That's going to be the caveat. So, guys, I appreciate you. I'm really, really tired. It's 8 o'clock. I'll catch you maybe for a live tomorrow, or at least during the week sometime.